Hey, this is Dad Smart, a podcast for homeschool dads. Enjoy the episode. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Gonna get you in the right spot.
Do you sing a lot in normal conversation?
Not like I'm a senior in high school trying to win a date, but I like putting a little tune to everything. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Working on the basement in our house. We finally finished a project that we started 7 years ago.
Wait, the storage down there? No, the bathroom's been done for a while. What could it be? I don't know. What'd you finish?
We finally finished the drainage.
Ah, like the French drain, or like
drain.
with a sump pump in the corner.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot that you did that. You're a real handy guy. What's your preferred battery platform for tools?
Well, for my lawn care, I went in on the Toro electric stuff, the lawnmower, the leaf blower, and here you go, the whippa-snippa.
I've never heard you say it like that before. Wait, did you say that because that's how I say it, or is that actually how they market it?
They do not market it that way.
Great American Lawn Care. Check out our new Whippa-Snippa.
You probably need to explain what that is.
Wait, I mean, I think I probably call it a weed whacker now because I probably got too many weird looks. A whippersnipper.
A weed whacker.
That's a weed whacker. Yeah, there's a lot of names for those. My neighbor had a back surgery and he asked if I would do his lawn care for the next couple of months. And I was like, sure. And he has a Toro ride-on mower. And I'm not sure I can ever go back now. And it's pretty fun. But then my whippersnipper is a skill. And then I have a little Makita battery blower. But that's not really for like blowing leaves. That's more for like getting your kids to back off or blow some sawdust around, you know? So that's not very powerful.
Got it. Okay.
Last year, I think my AirPods died.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop.
Oh, there we are.
Hello, hello.
I hear you now. Cool.
Let's do it. Hello, and welcome back to Dad Smart. Today, we're exploring a question that's both simple and overwhelming. It's the why did we choose to homeschool? You know, in our first episode, we explored like that moment when we knew we wanted to homeschool, that beginning of the new life. But how did we get to that decision? And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about where we were, what we were thinking about. And so the first part is really the fears. It's acknowledging what is difficult about this. Then going into part two, which would be the hopes, naming what you're excited about. And then lastly, part three is just going to be about digging into our purpose, our values, our vision for what we see this can be. So let's go into this first part, which is the fears, acknowledging what was difficult when thinking about homeschool. So Jesse, I'm going to toss it to you right away and just say, what were you afraid of? I mean, let's be honest. When thinking about homeschool,
what am I still afraid of even?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I'm kind of still sometimes living in that state of I'm not fully over the fear of what it would look like to incorporate being a homeschool dad, being a homeschool family. I think obviously, you know, it starts with like, can I do this? Is my kid gonna not learn? Am I not going to be able to teach them math or whatever it is, you know, whatever topic that we run back in our minds that we're like, I was not a good student in this, I was not a good student in that. I think all of those feelings naturally come up. They did for me, but I think as we talked about in the last episode, you kind of said it in passing, like you can teach anything well if you're one page ahead. And so I think for me, it's not so much like getting into it enough that I'm like, actually, you know what? I proved myself wrong there. I'm really good at teaching this. It's never really getting to that point of proving your fears wrong. I think it's just being okay embracing them and kind of having a complete different mindset going into it. That's like, my role actually isn't to be the perfect teacher. My role isn't to perfectly understand the topic or the class or whatever it is we're working on, but my goal is to be attentive to my kid and their needs and how they're responding, and just kind of go with it and be learning with them. I think an important piece of feeling okay not being ready to teach something is overshadowed by being attentive enough to what your kid is saying that they're ready to learn, by the way they're acting, the way they're interacting with you. So I think honestly it wasn't getting to the point of feeling like I'm proving that fear wrong, but getting to the point of being okay with it being a journey. And I mean, let's be honest, like, we're starting at kindergarten. Kindergarten is like easy. We're learning to play. We're learning to count. We're learning to write your name. There's a slow on-ramp, And so if we can just be a step ahead and be learning as we're going, that's a huge weight off of our shoulders. Just acknowledging that. That was my biggest fear, thinking I had to have it all figured out and feel prepared at the beginning, but just realizing that it's a total on-ramp and it's okay that that's the reality of how it's going to look.
For me, I'm a person where I don't take a step forward unless I've looked at every angle of that step. And it can be paralyzing when you go into something that you've never had any experience with before. And so with my experience growing up in public school, like, I understood school, I understood what you needed to walk away with. I just had no bearing on what does it even look like, to homeschool. And I think for me, there's a couple important things that helped me get over that fear. Was like, one, I remember, I think in high school, like, this was like the closest thing to homeschool I had, was I took a finance class. I think it was like in 10th grade. It was an elective, and it was online on the computer, and I had to go to the library during that elective hour and do this online course. I remember doing that course and doing it on my own and going through it and getting the credit. And I was like, wait, hang on. This counts? Like, I'm getting credit right now for this class? And I'm taking the tests and doing all the things. So I remembered that moment and being like so empowered to know that, oh, I can take a course or a curriculum and learn a subject and apply it to my life. And I did it as a student on my own. It's like, I can do that for my kids too. Like, I saw that the education, it doesn't have to be a classroom. So I was just looking for any point of reference of where in my life did I learn something or educate myself that was different than the norm or different than I knew. And then I looked at those moments to be like, oh, that actually changes. It changes a little bit about how I think about this.
So for you, was it just like, I don't feel ready? Or was there a specific thing that you were like, I don't feel ready to do this?
I've said this before, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Or I didn't know what to know. I felt so in the dark about all of it. But I knew that there's like so much happening behind the scenes with transcripts and, like what the state requires and all of that. And you just go to school and they take care of all that for you. And at the end, you get a diploma, and the most nerve-wracking thing was just making sure you had enough credits to graduate. But everything else is kind of taken care of with the system. And so it's like, well, no one explained the system to me before, so how am I supposed to? I have to know the system. And so that makes me come to my next point, is getting over the fear was realizing we're not doing this alone. We found an accrediting agency for homeschooling in Minnesota that we go through them to file everything with the state and with the city and everything that we need to do for our kids. And we go through them. But what I loved about it was the people that are behind this agency, they've been through it all. They know everything. They have all the answers. And I can just email them and say, hey, I have a question about this. And they know, and they can just answer it. I mean, if you've done anything for, the state, just even trying to get your driver's license or whatever, can you imagine taking on, now I have to make sure my kids have the right paperwork so that everything is, correct here. It's just a lot to figure out on year one. And so we joined up with this group, and it has been amazing to just know that someone's kind of got our back. Those were a couple moments for me where it lowered that fear, or the fears that I had. I tried to see past them or find a way through them to overcome that. Those are some pretty important parts. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Along those lines, I kind of got down a rabbit hole of being pretty fearful, not real fearful, but just oh boy, we got to get our ducks in a row. Last year, about this time, as we were about to start kindergarten with Navy, our oldest, I think one thing that was huge for us is, yes, there's a lot of online resources, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can figure it out because it is different from state to state. But man, if you could find someone who you know that is doing homeschool in your state, and literally you're just hey, regardless of how close you are, relationally, just be hey, we're jumping into this. Where do I start? That's an open door swung wide open to someone who's probably ready and excited to talk your ear off and be this is what we did. This is what we did. And so after just researching, I was feeling kind of overwhelmed, and we just reached out to a friend, and she was yeah, I'll tell you who we use. Here's some accreditation places you can use in Tennessee. But then she was also but you actually don't need to be accredited until first grade in Tennessee. You don't need to for kindergarten. And so for me, I was oh, whoa. And so I confirmed that, and I was oh yeah, we're literally on our own for kindergarten. No one's checking in. No one's doing anything until first grade. And so that was also whew, okay. So now we're kind of back to that we're circling back to that. And we're okay, we got to get our ducks in a row. But just that moment of asking someone who I know is doing it and has done it, and they just give me a piece of information that then I can run with, is the biggest thing in the world. I mean, we as dads will research the dumbest things on YouTube until the middle of the night. Yeah. And so I think for me, I was I need to put that same fervor into my kids' education, even if it means just researching for an hour of how to, what accreditation do I need to do for my kids if I'm homeschooling in Tennessee? It empowers us to be you know what? Like you said, it's really not that hard. We can become experts on a lot of things by just spending a couple hours researching it. And why not do that for our kids' education? And you can.
I'm trying to think, what other fears? I don't think I was necessarily had the fear of I can't teach them. I love teaching. I've never really, I'm not a teacher, but I love learning. I love teaching. I love gathering information and giving information. It's definitely a part of who I am. So there was really nothing about that part that seemed fearful to me. But it's so hard to imagine the future of what it's going to be too. So even that is just a little fearful. You're just kind of stepping out, and well, we're just going to take it a day at a time. But honestly, what else in our lives are we not just doing it one day at a time? We're just going to figure this out and find what works for our family, and find our flow, find our rhythm. And what I realize is that staying in our rhythm through this time of life is more important to me than losing the rhythm.
Yeah. It seems like, if I heard you correctly, you were just hey, I'm getting past this. We're deciding to do it, and we have our family is our family, and I don't want to uproot that. I don't want to uproot us. I don't want to mess up our rhythm for the sake of putting my kid in school because someone's telling me I should do that. Like, why is that important to you guys?
Thinking about what our hopes, are, what makes us excited about the homeschool journey, talking about our rhythm, our family, we all just know how to like fall into our spots and our places, and we each have our own strengths and talents, and every day is an adventure of interpersonal and intrapersonal skills and managing sibling rivalries or whatever it is. But we have our way of life and our speed, and one of our kids, his pace in life is a different pace than his brother, and we understand that flow. And so we know just in life like what their personalities mean for lunchtime. So we then know their personalities for how are they wired to be able to understand how to read the English language. It has to make sense to who they are. They have to be able to internalize it, and then it can like, oh, that makes sense, and now I can remember it, and I'm going to apply it. The ability to do that, to stay in our rhythm, to stay in our pace. When things are stressful, we can like endure it, and then we're going to come back to our normal, and things are going to be okay. We can take a break when we need to. One of the biggest things that, honestly, I think the turning point for me with the young ages of knowing that we're going to homeschool, and then imagining like the hope of what it can be is honestly, it was the fear of like all the standards, right? Okay, they have to learn to read by this point, and then all their peers are going to be here. So like, what if they meet a kid on the playground and they're doing this, and my kids don't even know what that is? Fears, all of that stuff. Like just keeping up with the standards or whatever. Okay, letting that go. And one of the biggest reasons to let that go is this. Everything comes in time. Just like everyone learns to ride a bike when they're ready to go, when they're ready to take their feet off the ground and go. It's the same in everything. And like reading is an example of that. When they are ready for that information to like stick, and they can put their feet on the pedals and go, they go. And it's not when the state says at this point they should be reading, and we got to keep going because otherwise we're going to get behind on our schedule of all of our things. And here's the thing that I didn't want to happen is, what if they're not ready yet? Well, kids that aren't ready yet, they get a label. They start to fail. Now they're failing. Then I'm a failure. Now I'm not good. Now I'm behind. I have to catch up. What?
Yeah.
You are 5 years old.
Yeah, I know.
You have so many more things in your life that you're doing and imagining, and you have so many strengths that are not being acknowledged or you're not going after. You do not need a label of any sort of failure at this point. There's too much in life to be exposed to now, and for your mind to just go after.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt where you're going with that, but I pulled this up from this book, Dumbing Us Down, by John Taylor Gatto, and he talks about this. His core idea around this idea is that readiness plus intrinsic motivation equals rapid learning. And schools often interrupt curiosity, and they spread learning too thin over time, and they just kind of dilute it. And he even goes into it more. I couldn't find the reference right now, but he goes into this study of like how many hours it actually takes for a kid to read. And it's really not that many hours, but the key is when they're ready and they're curious And that all goes back to the rhythm of you as dad and Emily as mom, knowing and being able to hear from your kid when they're ready to learn that thing. And so, yeah, that's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just catching that vision of seeing them succeed, seeing them, and then having these moments where they feel smart, like they're great with numbers or whatever, and you can ask them, just say, how does it feel to like know numbers and know how to do that math? And just to see their faces and just be like, does it feel good to be smart? And they go, yeah, it feels good. Like how much more confidence then for them to tackle the thing that they can't quite get yet,
Yeah, because they've felt what it feels like to be smart, and they've been acknowledged to be smart, as opposed to hearing a label of something that they haven't accomplished or haven't been good at. Like I think about Navy, he'll accomplish something, or he's into gluing things together and building things, and like we'll say something like, buddy, you did it, like you were working on it, and like he'll be so excited when he like accomplished the thing he was trying to accomplish. And even hearing you talk, I know that there's dads out there who are probably thinking like, man, I want to be around my kid more than I am, but like life right now isn't allowing that. And I struggle to notice those moments. And I know that it's going to be important for me to notice those moments and be close to my kid in that kind of way. And so for me, having conversations with friends who are doing the same thing is an inspiring way to remind ourselves like, whoa, I can slow down and just like sit in this moment with my kid. Just be like, yeah, cat is spelt that way. C-A-T. You did it. And you even know how to write it. That's amazing. And like, it feels silly as an adult at times, but being able to let yourself off the hook and just be slow and be in a rhythm of taking it all in feels inspiring, and also it starts to slowly chip away at this voice on your shoulder that keeps and will keep saying like, you need to be teaching this a certain way, like look how that kid's doing it, look how that kid's doing it, look how that school is doing it. But being able to like sit in those moments, I think is really important, and I think we'll all get better at seeing those moments as we get deeper into it, even if we miss a lot of them.
Yeah, and this just goes right into the why. The beautiful thing is we get to celebrate all those little victories that they get to have. When you're the teacher, those moments are as big as their first steps. And I think we want to soak up as much time as we can with these kids, and so all of these moments of growth and learning, we get to celebrate with them. We get to see them struggle through it, fall, and then get up and try again. That is a huge part of the why. A little personal story for me, ever since my oldest son was a baby, anything that rotated like a propeller, he just loved it. And so, of course, he has this love for aviation and flying. Like he keeps coming back to it over and over and over again. So, grandparents got him, a flying magazine subscription. So he gets magazines and stuff. And, his interest in it kind of grows and then goes away and comes back. He kind of always comes back to it. But I was flipping through one of his magazines one night, and I came across this picture. I don't know what it was for, but it was in a small little plane, a little like Cessna style plane. And the person that took the picture was sitting in the back seat. And so there was the pilot and the co-pilot seat in front of them. You could see it was like a sunset that they were flying into. And you could see that there was what looked like an adult or like a father in the right seat. the co-pilot seat. And then there was a teenager in the left seat who was flying it, and they were just kind of silhouetted. And I came across that picture, and it just hit me. I just was like, this kind of means everything to me, this picture. What I want in my life is I want to be in that right seat. I want to be shoulder to shoulder with him and with both Ollie and Artie. I want to be shoulder to shoulder with them on their journey through, whatever it is, their entire life. But in this education, I want to be that. So, a few years ago, I decided that I'm going to get my pilot's license. I'm going to learn to fly. Ollie, he's way too young to fly, to become a pilot. But at this rate of things, that's very likely he'll still have interest in it someday. But all I knew is I want to be in the seat next to him when he's doing that. And so I'm gonna learn to be a pilot. So I did. So it took me over a year. Before going to work, I would have like 7 a.m. flight lessons and just kind of ticked it off a little bit by a little bit until now I'm a pilot. And so I've been able to take them up in the air and we go flying, and it's just a wonderful thing.
That's so cool.
But, one day when he decides he wants to fly, or maybe he never will, I don't know. But, for even just the years of doing that, and even now, we have so much to talk about and so much fun we get to have as he's, on a computer simulator and he's landing airliners over and over and over again. Or, building airports with, model jets and things like that. We'll see what happens. But it's just that picture. It was so clear. The why for me is just that. I just want to be shoulder to shoulder with these guys. I want to just do it with them. That is the why. That's the why. That's the vision for me. And so we're gonna take it as it comes. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And that's how it's gonna be when we're shoulder to shoulder. I don't want to be standing in front of them telling them how to do everything. I want to discover it along the way as we go.
I think our story is similar, and even coming back to the idea of rhythm. Our family is what our family is right now, like the flow of our family. And when I say that we are excited about homeschooling because it fits our life more, that's not coming from a selfish place of like, I don't want that principal telling me when I can take a family vacation. It's not, that's part of it, but it's not really coming from that. It's more like, man, I want to soak up all of the time I can with my kids. That's a why that doesn't just help us determine how we're going to school and teach our kids. That also is the why that helps us determine if starting a business is worth starting a business, or if jumping into a new project is worth jumping into that project. Because all of a sudden, when you have kids at home and you have a family and responsibilities, all of those things that you maybe easily, when maybe you were younger with no kids, were like, yeah, let's just go do it. Like, let's do it. They're all going through that filter of why am I doing this, And so that's an important piece for us, is to be together. We feel pretty strongly just right now in this season that we want to be the primary influence in our kids' lives as far as their learning, like their schooling development, their spiritual development, their ability to learn how to have fun and treat each other and treat their friends and treat people who are difficult, how they love the people around them. Every parent is struggling to figure out those things. That's more of a parenting thing. That's not just a conversation around schooling. That's a conversation around like, how do I keep my kid from being mean to kids? Or how do I teach my kid how to respond when someone is mean to him? Or, all of those kind of things that we as parents are figuring out, and no doubt realize the importance of those lessons being taught. we realize like we want to be the ones that can speak into our kids' lives in those ways. So because of that, I think it felt natural for like that's our why for homeschooling too, because we want to be shoulder to shoulder with each other, and just right now because it fits our life and that's who we are, and it feels like it would be so much harder to uproot that, and we don't know what it's going to look like in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, but right now it makes sense for us to be us. And yeah, that means sacrificing. It means that between the two of us, my wife and I, have enough time for one full-time job's worth of hours, and then we don't really do childcare. We have a couple babysitters and stuff like that, but that's kind of the why for us, is just to be with each other and help learn and grow together in this season, and trying to see any other version of how that looks right now just doesn't seem like us. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we got there, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon. But
I love it.
love that.
Jesse, here. So you started with a question about like preferences on tools in terms of school or homeschool. I know it's early, and we're gonna nerd out on a lot of tools that are related to school as well. Is there anything that's like cool that you've seen, or and I'm gonna say tool, but something related to school that Navy has like found is like, oh, I love this or whatever. I want to share one that I found that was really cool. So I mentioned airplanes and things like that. Early on, I found this app for my phone or for an iPad that is called JigSpace. And what it does is it's an augmented reality. So you have the camera open on your table or whatever, and you can pick all these different things. One of them was a jet engine. And so then it pops it up on your table, on your dining room table. A jet engine is there moving. And then you can, walk around the entire thing, get up close, see how it works. And then you press a button, and then it has an exploded view of all the parts and everything like that. I thought, there is not an encyclopedia in all of my childhood of being at school. There's not one encyclopedia picture that I came across that was as cool as that experience I just had right there. And I knew that with the aid of tools like that and the technology that we have available for us, oh man, school is going to be so much fun for them. So I can't wait to find tools like that. That's a tool that we often use when we want to explore different things and get kind of hands-on with stuff that we can't actually get access to.
Yeah, man, the access that we have to stuff that we didn't when we were kids is crazy. I would say that we're a pretty low-tech family as far as school goes, so I can't say we've found any awesome stuff like that. But I think, we're still so new into this world, but as one does, as they get into homeschool, they're starting to research all of these curriculums and styles. And I think when I realized that there's different ways of homeschooling, we used a curriculum very loosely, don't know if we will next year, but it's called 5 in a Row. It's just literally literature-based learning, which is just the approach to using literature to learn things. For me, that kind of blew my mind when I watched an example of someone using a story to literally have days of school lessons. You read a story that your kid is used to, and they have to be good. They're calling them living books. They have to be good books that actually have good lessons in them and stuff. But the idea of hey, this kid went to a shop in this story. You don't have to just read past that. You can be man, what kind of shop is that shop owner in that book running? Oh, it's a shoe store. I wonder what city he's running that business in. And then you're like, what do you think it takes to start a business in that city? Like, let's look that up, and you're like allowing the story to you're allowing it to, like, you're internalizing it and you're letting your mind just run with it and you're just learning. And that's how we naturally learn things anyway. If we want to know something, when we feel ready and we want to learn it, like, we can go for it and learn it. So I think that little piece, that's not a tech thing. It's kind of a tool, though, of just like leveraging literature and just letting our minds just go and be like, oh, we can learn this today.
Yeah, I think curriculum is a tool, absolutely. And I think that we will have lots of conversations about different curriculum things that we try. Those are the tools of the trade, and they can look so different. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before, so I'm going to have to check that one out. Thanks for sharing. Well, I hope we get to share more tips, more tricks, and also just more from the heart about this journey in the next one. So, see ya.